Well, I just saw the new Looney Tunes movie The Day the Earth Blew Up, and overall, it was a pretty fun time. It really gets back to the wacky basics of Looney Tunes while also having a solid emotional story. However, as good as this movie was, I think there's a larger problem that, for better or for worse, is overshadowing its release, and it's definitely worth discussing. This movie almost didn't exist. It's been about a year and a half since Warner Bros., led by their new CEO David Zaslav, canceled the then upcoming Looney Tunes film Coyote vs. ACME. Although the film was completely finished, Warner Bros., in its infinite wisdom, decided to withhold it from the public entirely in order to secure a $30 million tax cut. Coyote wasn't the first film to fall under Warner's axe either. A Scoob sequel and a Batgirl movie had received the same fate recently. It looked almost certain that The Day the Earth Blew Up would be the next one on the chopping block, but by some miracle, it managed to squeak out into the daylight. Now, this debate can get very heated, so I think it's worth acknowledging Warner's point of view. I don't think any of these movies would have made money. I might be wrong, but it's very easy to imagine all of them becoming giant box office bombs, perhaps with the exception of Scoob 2. Companies are only now beginning to realize that streaming isn't really profitable, and pumping out movies with $90 million budgets isn't smart, especially when those movies aren't going to a theatrical window. And unfortunately, The Day the Earth Blew Up isn't exactly blowing up the box office, earning $10 million so far on a $15 million budget, albeit with basically no marketing. It's either Looney Tunes or Mickey 17, and kids seem to be choosing neither. Now, just today we received the news that Coyote vs. ACME has been saved, being acquired by Ketchup Entertainment, and this is objectively fantastic. But other projects aren't as lucky. One of the first videos I ever made was on Disney's Mysterious Benedict Society TV show. But I can't watch it anymore because they took it off the service entirely. But ultimately, not only is deleting a film a morally repugnant business strategy, it's also just a financially irresponsible one. At their core, movies are art. It may be a cheesy argument, but it's still true, and you can't treat them like a regular product because you're dealing with work that is imbued with the hearts and souls of all the people who worked on it. And not only is deleting that work a slap in the face to all of those employees, it's also doing a disservice to your audience, because even the most mediocre film has the power to inspire. Now, I'm not saying that you as a CEO have to greenlight every idea that comes your way. Things get canceled, it happens, it's still fundamentally a business. But when a movie is completely finished, to shut it away forever for a moderate tax break is downright evil. Especially when, on top of your multi-million-dollar salary, you then give yourself a $22 million bonus despite losing your company massive amounts of money all throughout the year. Not to be that guy, but capitalism may not make total sense. If Zaslav had just decided to be content with his usual massive salary, we wouldn't have this problem. But allow me to appeal to the corporate bigwigs by speaking in their language. Money. Leading a project with a relatively small budget and one belonging to such a well-known IP like Looney Tunes is ultimately financially irresponsible and will have long-term negative effects for Warner Bros. As a whole. Under Zaslav's reign, Warner has taken an axe to animation, cutting beloved classics from Max, destroying Cartoon Network altogether, and canceling groundbreaking projects such as Scavenger's Reign. Following their recent decision to get rid of Sesame Street, yeah, let that sink in, they released a statement saying they were going to focus more on family programming, which they seem to think means adult content. And I get it, kids just aren't watching TV anymore, they're wrapped up in TikTok and YouTube, but it's a mistake to not at least try to connect with them as an audience. One day, these Zoomers are going to grow up, and Warner won't have anything for them because they killed off all their kids' content in order to appeal to millennials and avoid short-term losses. Now, Warner Bros. Is just one part of this trend. Disney in particular is laser-focused solely on cashing in on nostalgia. That's why they're doing so many live-action remakes. But it's important to at least try to have some sort of connection with the younger audiences, and as much as they don't want to hear it, animation has consistently proven to be the best way to establish that. I don't mean that Warner should spend hundreds of millions of dollars on ill-fated projects, but putting out some movies like Looney Tunes that have smaller budgets could pay off big. See, this is how you create cult classics that then turn into franchises that you can then milk for the rest of eternity. At the end of the day, I think there's a lot of underrated value in these low-budget, slightly mediocre movies like The Day the Earth Blew Up. I cannot stress enough that every movie, no matter how bad you may think it is somebody's passion project, somebody's cult classic, somebody's favorite. These are the underrated gems that build a fan base over time until they're popular enough to become serious hits. They may be scary in the short term. Nobody wants to be responsible for a box office bomb. But I promise you, if you refuse to market these movies or scrap them entirely, the future is going to be much scarier. So let's raise a glass to Coyote vs. ACME and The Day the Earth Blew Up. But let's not forget the projects that we couldn't save, and the projects that will inevitably suffer the same fate.